charge into life-threatening situations
Dale Cregan.
as others run the...
Let's do it then. We doing it right now. All right, let's do this. The terrifying case of Dale Cregan. Let me see. Beyond Evil. Shout out to Beyond Evil podcast.
in the opposite direction. Every day they risk their lives to help others, not knowing for certain if they'll be going home at the end of their shift. September the 18th, 2012, a date that will linger in infamy amongst UK police forces. This was the day a notorious gangster in Tameside, Manchester, graduated his criminal career to...
Oh, speaking of Manchester, why nobody tell me Bugsy Malone dropped? Why ain't nobody tell me Bugsy Malone dropped? Come on, man. What's going on with y'all niggas? I'm 3 days late.
Notorious gangster in Tameside, Manchester, graduated his criminal career to double cop killer. We would like to send our sincere condolences to the friends and family of Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone. Both of these brave police officers lost their lives at just 23 and 32 years of age in the line of duty. September the 18th of 2012 seemed to be a normal day in the greater Manchester area. That is, until a 999 call came in through the emergency services requesting police attend to a property which was being burgled. At the time, two police officers who were on duty nearby, Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone, got the call and made their way to the property. Pulling into the Abbey Gardens in the village of Mottram, the officers thought it was a routine burglary, but they were wrong. The officers approached the property as they would with any call, but before they had time to react, a handgun opened up on them. The Glock pistol fired 32 shots at the police officers in just 31 seconds. After the shooting had stopped, an M75 hand grenade was thrown in their direction, killing one of them and seriously wounding the other. This would be the...
Oh, nah. Nah, this is crazy. That nigga pulled out a hand grenade? Nah. He little 30? Trigger like a hairpin? 32 and 31 seconds?
Glock pistol fired 32 shots at the police officers in just 31 seconds. After the shooting had stopped, an M75 hand grenade was thrown in their direction, killing one of them and seriously wounding the other. This would be the fourth time a hand grenade had been used in the Manchester area in just a very short period of time. The man on the end of that trigger, Dale Cregan, was the UK's most wanted man. Police had been searching for him for weeks with every possible armed unit available on continuous watch. But
that nigga, after he smoked the police, he was on the run for 3 months. I mean, wait, hold on. My bad. What they say?
For weeks
after he shot police? And threw off a grenade? That's crazy.
Every possible armed unit available on continuous watch. But tragically, for those two police officers, Greater Manchester Police hadn't found Cregan.
Shit got me feeling like Snoop right now, son. Fake was sick yesterday. I can't even smoke like that. This shit got my stomach hurting smoking. I'm about to not even smoke. This is crazy.
He had found them and lured them into a trap. Dale Cregan was born on the 6th of June 1983 in Ashton-under-Lyne, then moving to Droylsden, both working-class neighborhoods in the Manchester area. At the time, Manchester, like many other areas of the UK, was suffering from bad political decisions, which led to the deindustrialization of the cities. This left many areas without sufficient jobs or opportunities. As a result, many young people had far too much time on their hands and little or no money-making options. This led to an even wider creation of gangs, people who would choose to make money any way they saw fit, regardless of the law. As a schoolboy growing up in a tough area, Dale Cregan struggled to fit in anywhere. He was small and skinny and had no real interest in education at all. He would constantly try to prove his superiority to others, and despite his unwavering yet misplaced confidence, he wasn't very good at anything. This led him to becoming frustrated with others who wanted nothing to do with him. Because he wasn't able to pick on anyone his own size, he would take walks through the parks and woods, taking his anger out on any wildlife that he came across. He would hunt and skin rabbits that he managed to catch. By a young age, he was extremely competent at using a knife.
Nah, yeah, son was sick early. My nigga said he was going in the... I want to see him go find a bear or something, nigga. Go wrestle with a bear, nigga, you angry ass.
Which was certainly a sign of things to come. His obsession with knives had moved on, and by now he was carrying guns with him. He quickly realized that if he had a weapon, he could get people to do almost anything he wanted. His home life wasn't easy. His father had walked out on the family.
That motherfucking WAP, nigga, that give you so much power. What? Having that, yo... I already know he's sick in the head too, so you already know. Once he got that, it was over. Once he got that, it's over.
Do almost anything he wanted. His home life wasn't easy. His father had walked out on the family when he was just a young boy. Cregan saw himself as the man of the house, and as such, he felt it was his responsibility to look after his mother and 3 siblings. In the UK, 16 is the earliest anyone can leave full-time education. And that is exactly what Dale did. Manchester is dominated by gang culture. From postcode to postcode, different gangs view different parts of the city as their territory. In this world, if you are in a gang, you must be respected and feared. If you aren't in a gang, then you're a nobody. Cregan soon realized this and joined the first gang he could. If he couldn't achieve the respect he thought he deserved through legal means, then he would earn it through violence on the streets. Not long after leaving school, Cregan officially had a job as a plasterer, but he made his real money through selling drugs in the local area. He sold marijuana and became a regular user and supplier of cocaine. In his mind, at least, he now had the respect and fear from other people that he so deeply craved. But for all his academic restrictions, Cregan did have one skill that he excelled at. He was very persuasive and charismatic. His gang bosses spotted this and sent him on a working holiday to Tenerife, a Spanish island in the Atlantic Ocean. His job was to persuade more gullible, mostly elderly people to part with their cash and invest in a timeshare apartment complex on the island. A timeshare is for people who can't afford to buy property abroad on their own. They invest in a property along with other people, and then they share the maintenance costs and the use of the property. The drawback, of course, is that you can only use the property when the other people aren't there. It had been a good scheme for some, but not in this case. Cregan was selling properties to people that didn't even exist. It was a scam just to get the money away from the people. After his business trip, which was relatively successful, he returned to Manchester and continued to sell drugs, something he also excelled at. He made serious money through his dealings and continued to travel the globe using his ill-gotten gains. But he was to be given a violent shove back to reality when he traveled to Thailand. While there on holiday, he was still on the lookout for opportunities to make money. He met several criminals while he was over there and made the foolish decision to rob one of them. But it turned out that Cregan was no match for him. He was not just overpowered and given a good slap, he was tortured in a very violent way, to the point where the criminal actually tore out his left eye.
Damn, that's crazy. I was going to ask in the beginning how he lost his eye, but I'm like, they got to tell us. But yeah, yo, some niggas be thinking they too tough. They run shit where they at, and they go somewhere else, and yeah, nigga, it's somebody bad like you everywhere. It's niggas like you everywhere. So listen, that's why you gotta be humble. My son went out there, tried to get locked in with niggas, then rob a nigga. Robbed the wrong nigga.
Way, to the point where the criminal actually tore out his left eye. Now, most people who had been subjected to this kind of attack may reconsider their life choices and possibly take a different path, but not Dale Cregan. Astonishingly, he seemed to have viewed it as an occupational hazard, and from that day on, he wore it as a badge of honor, a symbol of how tough he was, and, in fairness, it did make him look extremely scary and intimidating. By the age of 28, Cregan had also achieved what he saw as his dream. He was now a well-respected and feared gangster. Helped by his missing eye, many people were terrified by him. He had stacks of money from his drug dealings, and just to add to his criminal reputation, he also had 17 criminal convictions, including affray and assault. He would soon add even more serious crimes to that long list of convictions. On May the 13th, 2012, the football season was coming to an end. Manchester City had just beaten their rivals, Manchester United, to the Premier League title. In the Droylsden area, a gang war was bubbling just beneath the surface. Two rival families, the Atkinsons and the Shorts, were competing to control the local area. Cregan was very close to the Atkinson family and was keen to cement his reputation further by targeting the Shorts. Both sets of families were in the same pub watching the football on this day. No words had been exchanged, but at some point a bottle came flying from one side of the pub, where the Shorts were sitting, over to the other side of the pub, where Cregan and the Atkinson family were sitting. This, in Cregan's mind at least, gave him the ammunition he needed for an act of revenge. 2 weeks later, Cregan, along with 3 other accomplices, drove back to the same pub. Their car pulled up outside and outran Cregan wearing a balaclava. Armed with a 9mm Glock pistol, he walked into the pub where David Short and his son were playing pool. As Cregan walked in, David wasn't there, just his son Mark, who Cregan mercilessly shot 3 times through the chest and wounded 3 other people as well. In 24 seconds, it was all over. 1 murdered and 3 wounded.
Damn, my son was David time.
Times through the chest and wounded 3 other people as well. In 24 seconds, it was all over. 1 murdered and 3 wounded. But this was gangland. The Short family were not going to take this lying down. Revenge would be bloody and brutal, and Cregan knew it. To avoid the impending bloodshed, he jumped straight on a plane to Thailand and left the Atkinson family and
My son went back to Thailand where they cut his eye out. Back out to Thailand where they cut his eye out.
Bloodshed, he jumped straight on a plane to Thailand and left the Atkinson family and its associates to face the music. Cregan flew back into Manchester just under a month later, and waiting for him in the duty-free area was the Manchester police force. But despite all of the questioning and the police's best efforts to get Cregan and his associates off the streets, there simply wasn't enough evidence to convict him of a crime. No matter what had happened, nobody from the criminal underworld was going to break the code of silence that exists between criminals. Cregan and anyone associated with him were released without charge, free to carry on with their activities. But the police didn't exactly give up. They were all aware of what Cregan was.
So look, if my memory's good, right? He got locked up. Right, this is 2012, they said. And he got out. But then he catch that, this was like May or some shit. So he caught that body in September when he killed the police. So you know in real life, they are pissed they let that nigga go for that shit in the motherfucking, in the pub. When he killed the nigga in the pub. They mad as hell to let him go for that. Because then he came back. Yeah, he killed the police at the end. But I'm saying this is like 3 months before he killed the police. Because look, this is May. They said he killed the police in 2012. And this was 2012. This is May. Oh, nigga said this is May 2012. I don't remember what. Yeah, so this nigga, they probably like, damn, so we let this motherfucker out of jail for murder because nobody understood. Then he came out and killed the police. You know the police was upset. No, these niggas was mad as shit.
With the fact that David Short was dead, Cregan went a step further. From his pocket, he pulled out a military and a friend, or he was at his home, him to one with, and anyone associated with him were released without charge, free to carry on with their activities. But the police didn't exactly give up. They were all aware of what Cregan was. They assigned around-the-clock surveillance teams to watch his every move. For 3 months, the police tried to build a case to bring him down, and in August of 2012, they went to arrest him at his home. But he had already fled Manchester again. This time he had traveled north to a town called Bowness in the Lake District after hearing that his friends had been arrested. Regardless of Cregan's absence, the gang war in Manchester was far from over. Cregan may have killed David Short's son, but he was never the main target, and now David Short was not just threatening Cregan's life, but the lives of his whole family as well.
Damn.
It was now kill or be killed for Dale Cregan, and the fuse of the bomb had been truly lit. On the 10th of August, Cregan and another associate, Anthony Wilkinson, who had been shadowing David Short's movements, lay in wait at a cemetery in Droylsden, where David Short went every day to visit the grave of his deceased son. But on this one occasion, David Short broke his routine and didn't appear. But that was about as far as his luck would carry him. Cregan and Wilkinson were driven by a friend to wait outside of Short's home just down the road from the cemetery. Cregan and Wilkinson seized their opportunity, storming into the house and shooting Short several times. David Short managed to make a run for it, but was cornered in his own backyard. This is when Cregan emptied his Glock pistol into David Short. But still not satisfied with the fact that David Short was dead, Cregan went a step further. From his pocket, he pulled out a military grenade, pulled the pin, and threw it at David Short's lifeless corpse, blowing it into 1,000 pieces. Mission accomplished for Cregan? Well, not.
Nah, son was a demon. Yeah, he was a demon. He was a demon. Yeah, he just blew this nigga body into pieces, bro. Nah, son. This nigga was a demon. Nah, son. Grenade man.
Grenade, pulled the pin, and threw it at David Short's lifeless corpse.
Ain't no casket where. Yeah, he just cremated him. Yeah, you ain't gotta worry about no expenses to this funeral. Yeah, like you ain't gotta worry about no expenses for this funeral. I got you. I'm gonna handle that for you. I got you. No expenses, nigga. Yeah, nigga, arm probably still in the backyard somewhere, nigga.
Blowing it into 1,000 pieces. Mission accomplished for Cregan? Well, not quite. His insatiable thirst for blood only got worse. Along with Wilkinson and another man, they drove to the home of a second family they had a problem with, and they threw a grenade into that home as well. Then, finally, to cover their tracks, he used a third grenade to blow up the van they had used that afternoon. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in the second or third explosion, but Cregan had sent a powerful message across Manchester. He was not a man to be trifled with, and everyone should fear him. This was the first time a hand grenade had ever been used in part of a criminal activity in the history of the UK, and the police were determined not to let Cregan get away with it. They launched Operation Dakar, a huge manhunt for Dale Cregan, which stretched all over Manchester, even involving armed officers from neighboring police forces. Cregan was now the most wanted man in the UK. Although it was obvious that Cregan was their man, proving it in the past had all.
That nigga most wanted in the world doing shit like that, nigga. I ain't never had nobody doing no shit like that, nigga. That nigga let the whole clip go on the motherfucker, then threw a grenade at a nigga, bro. That is crazy. I never even seen a grenade in real life. I ain't never seen a grenade in real life.
Always proven difficult, but this time, despite his attempts to blow up the van with a third grenade, forensic evidence had been left behind, proving that Cregan and Wilkinson had been at the scene of the murder of David Short. But knowing their targets was no good to the police if they couldn't find them. Manchester had 14 armed response vans patrolling the city, but what the police didn't know was that Cregan and Wilkinson had gone north Herne Bay in Kent. The entirety of the UK was shown photo images of Cregan and Wilkinson. Wilkinson was a relatively normal-looking man with a stocky build and a shaved head, but there was no mistaking Dale Cregan with his short dark hair, stocky build, and of course, most notably, his missing eye. A price of £25,000 was put on Cregan for anyone who could give information leading to his arrest. 2 weeks later, that was doubled. It was clear the two men had headed to Herne Bay to try to get on a boat and get out of the country. But having been clearly unsuccessful in their efforts, Wilkinson realized the hopelessness of their situation, and in the middle of August he handed himself in. But where was Dale Cregan? Everyone knew Wilkinson was just the understudy. The police wanted the ringleader. The police tried everything, believing that he may still be in Manchester. Wanted posters were put up everywhere, but there was one big problem. People were terrified of Cregan, and it seemed that no amount of money was enough to make someone risk their life. The police, still having no idea where Cregan was, continued to search the Manchester area with no success. All of Cregan's known associates were under constant surveillance, but so far had not provided any leads. Without anyone knowing, Cregan had in fact come back up north to Manchester. On the 17th of September 2012, he made his way into the village of Mottram and forced his way into a former associate's home. The associate was a hairdresser, and Cregan, knowing this might be his last night of freedom, made the man trim his beard and hair so that he would look good whenever he was seen by the public next. After that, Cregan apparently spent the night getting drunk and laughing while smoking cigarettes. Nicola Hughes and Fiona Bone had only just started their shift that morning. At 10:14 a.m., the call came in. 38 minutes later, the unarmed 32 and 23-year-olds, respectively, arrived at what would be their final action as proud police officers. Fiona was shot approximately 7 times. Despite her critical condition, she showed tremendous courage in climbing back to her feet and reaching for her taser to try to immobilize Cregan. But before she could deploy her only means of self-defense, Cregan fired a fatal shot through her heart, which killed her on the spot. Nicola had been severely wounded in the initial attack. One of the shots had gone straight through her spinal cord, leaving her paralyzed. She could only lie helpless and defenseless. Cregan then approached Nicola and shot her 3 more times through the head. Cregan then unleashed what had by now become his signature act of mindless violence. He threw the grenade at the dead and dying police officers.
I know when this happened, this shit had the UK in a frenzy. What? Yo, nah, son. That nigga, nah, son. That nigga the cremator. That nigga name is the cremator. This nigga's the cremator. Yeah, he's the cremator.
He threw the grenade at the dead and dying police officers. As you would expect, the police radios were going wild with activity. Armed units were immediately told to get to the area, and in another act of fearless loyalty, despite being told to wait for armed backup, all local unarmed units made their way to the scene to try to save their colleagues. Tragically, they were too late. Miraculously, Nicola had not died. There were still very weak signs of life. She was immediately rushed to the Tamside Hospital where, unfortunately, she was pronounced dead upon arrival. But now Cregan was missing again. His next move may seem strange, but to criminologists, it was predictable. Dale Cregan walked into his local police station and turned himself in. It is believed that this showed his cowardly side. He was afraid, and rightly so, that the next time he saw a police officer on the streets, there would be no attempt to arrest him. They would simply shoot first and ask questions later. Some criminal psychologists also say the move was about control. In his sick and twisted mind, he was the star of his very own movie, and he would not let police have the last laugh by capturing or killing him. During his police interviews, Cregan showed absolutely no remorse for his crimes. Quite the opposite, in fact. He showed a perverted sense of pride in what he had done to those 2 young women. During one interview, he said the killings had been revenge for the hounding of his family while he was on the run. He said his only regret was that the police officers had not been male. Killing 2 defenseless women would not gain him respect from the criminal fraternity, even if they were police officers. In the eyes of other criminals, it made him simply look like a coward. 4 months later, on the 4th of February 2013, Dale Cregan was brought to the Preston Crown Court to face justice. 120 armed police officers escorted Cregan to the Preston Crown Court from the Strangeways prison in Manchester throughout the trial.
Roads around Manchester City Magistrates Court were temporarily closed to the public as the police convoy brought Dale Cregan in for his first appearance in the dock to face multiple charges of murder. Security was at the highest level, with armed officers taking up positions around the court buildings. These marksmen had escorted the accused in from the prison where he's being held.
It was unlikely that any other criminals would bother to try to help him escape, but no one was taking any chances. During the court case, police snipers were positioned on the court roof and the streets were cordoned off. 9 of Cregan's previous associates also faced charges, including murder and attempted murder. Cregan himself confessed to everything, but decided to try to stay in control one last time by wasting the court's time and pleading not guilty. Had he pleaded guilty, there would have been no need for a jury trial, but the ever-selfish Cregan forced the families of Nicola and Fiona to sit through the agonizing court proceedings. During the trial, Cregan disgustingly basked in the limelight, acting as if he was not interested in anything that was going on. Not a single shred of remorse was shown towards the families or friends of Nicola and Fiona, not to mention the police officers in attendance mourning the death of their beloved colleagues. In one last act of pathetic defiance, after making everyone sit through 18 weeks of this trial, Cregan changed his pleas to guilty. Finally, on the 13th of June 2013, Dale Cregan was given the only sentence possible for a wannabe gangster who had achieved nothing throughout his life and had turned into a cop killer. A whole life sentence. He will never be released. We have talked enough about the bad people like Dale Cregan enough in this story. All we can hope is that he has a miserable time in prison for the rest of his days. Our focus at Beyond Evil, as always, are the victims of the crimes we cover. Fiona Bone had been spending her break times at work planning for a very special event. She was due to get married to the love of her life, but was never given that chance. She left behind one young daughter who will never get to see her mother again. But we can only hope.
Man, free this nigga. Free my nigga Dale, man. Nah, let me stop. Nah. I don't want nobody killing me. Nah. But man, Dale was just misunderstood, man. My son was just misunderstood, man. I'm about to send Dale a kite, man. Wipe my nigga Dale.
That as her daughter grows older, she can look at pictures of her mother smiling back at her. No.
Dale ain't do that shit! Nigga said Dale ain't do that shit, man. Free Dale. What?
Her daughter grows older, she can look at pictures of her
12,
mother
nigga, I don't
smiling
give a fuck.
back at her, knowing that she will always be watching over her.
Free Dale, nigga. Fuck 12, nigga. I don't care. Fuck you think I'm sad about the 12 he killed, nigga?
Smiling back at her, knowing that she will always be watching over her, and also knowing that her mother died doing a job she loved, showing more courage in her final moments as she struggled to her feet, having been hit by many gunshots. To her last breath, she struggled to defend her colleague and the innocent members.
Ain't nothing in that casket. Ain't nothing in that casket. How he try to blow them up? Oh, but he threw the grenade. Did the grenade hit them? Hey, follow the kick, y'all. Follow the kick. Man, we live on kick. This was
of the public from a violent thug.
Real victim.
Nicola Hughes was just 3 years into her police career. She was described as keen and...
Yeah, he threw it on their body. I mean, you know the police just got to probably put the... Well, yeah, damn, y'all in the UK, so, you know, y'all flag over the shit and the cop shit on there. But it probably none in that shit. If he threw a grenade, nigga, tell him he the cremaker. Free Dale. My son said put Free Dale as the title. Nah, you gonna have niggas unsubscribing. But you know, for real.
Hughes was just 3 years into her police career. She was described as keen and eager to learn by her other colleagues. She like her colleague Fiona, leaves behind devastated friends, family, and colleagues who will never forget her and the sacrifice that she made. She may have been a junior colleague up until that fateful day, but there can be no doubt Nicola well and truly came of age as she paid the ultimate price in the line of duty. The funerals for both Nicola and Fiona were attended by thousands of mourners. The streets that led to the Manchester Cathedral were packed with members of the public and police officers, all paying their respects. In the killing of these two brave young women, we saw the worst of humanity, but the way that thousands of people...
I ain't gonna lie, the show, but I ain't gonna lie, so Dale, I ain't gonna say he's smart. He's smart for going to turn himself in. Cause you know, once you kill police, bro, you ain't gonna be running too much longer. Yeah, you ain't gonna run too much longer. But then in the beginning, they said he was on a run for like 3 weeks. Did they say he was on a run for like 3 weeks in the beginning? They just said he went straight to the police station. Yeah, I don't know, man.
People came together to escort their coffins to their final resting places truly showed us the best of humanity.
Fuck it. Like, comment, subscribe, man. This was fire.